Hey everyone, Jeremy here. I've been asked to show my process for creating this particular style of drawings that I've been working on recently. I kind of like it. Others seem to as well, and I think it's kind of a straightforward process that anyone can do to like some degree. So that's why I'm kind of saying steal my style. It's totally fine. I'm sure this is kind of derivative of other people's style anyway, so it'd be kind of hypocritical for me to say that like, no, it's all mine. But yeah, I think this is nice and it works really well for portraits. As you can see, I've been doing like a lot of animal portraits lately. And they work out really well in this. I get a lot of compliments on this German Shepherd here, for example. It's a really cool style, I think, for these type of pictures. And I don't know exactly what this is called. I think it's called like abstract realism, where you focus on like realistic details and then kind of like abstract out some of the other stuff. Um, this one's my dog Bear. It looks really nice in this style. I think it's really cool. So anyway, I've been asked to go over kind of like the process that it takes to make these particular art, or like this particular art style. So that's what I'm going to cover in this video. And to do this, I chose like a person portrait to work on, for this example. This is actually somebody's grandmother. The original reference picture, which I'll show later, is from the 1940s. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to take this 1940s photo of this woman who was their grandmother who passed away and kind of like bring it into like this modern style, vibrant colors, all of that stuff. So anyway, this is what we're going to work on today. I'll show you the full process. During my live streams, I only kind of show the drawing part of it. So I'm going to show you all of the watercolor stuff too. So if you enjoy this, if you find it helpful, if you want to steal my style, be sure to give this a like and like share it with others and stuff like that, so that I get some more exposure to like a wider audience and stuff. Because I think this is kind of cool. I do think it's a lot of fun. It's a style that people seem to be responding to. So I also think it's pretty straightforward, and I think anyone can do it. So give it a shot. Let me know. Let's get to it. So starting out, I kind of wanted to go over the entire process, like from start to finish. That's what was asked for. Like some of these details I kind of skip myself, but I even wanted to cover how I get my reference photos. So like this is a subreddit on Reddit called Draw Me, and people post like the pictures of themselves, pictures of loved ones, and they ask, can you draw me and stuff. And as you can see, there's like a wide variety of people here, and that's what I love about this. These are real people. They're not models. They're not like anything that you wouldn't encounter in like normal real life. So this grandmother photo here from the 1940s, I think is perfect. So the next part of my process is, and you could skip this, there's other ways to do this, but the way I do it is I bring it into Photoshop and I set my all my units to inches, so that I can kind of like duplicate this picture with the correct proportions, everything lines up correctly. And the way I do that is I set my picture to the same size. Well, I set the reference picture to the same size as my paper. Now in this case, I'm using 9x12 paper, so I'm setting it to 9x12 inches. And the reason I do that is because then everything that you see on this in the reference photo is going to match directly to my paper. And I can use these guidelines to kind of figure out where things are. So like the corner of the lady's eye here, I know to be X amount of inches over from the left and X amount of inches down. And then, I just hop back over to my paper and I pull out a ruler and I just measure it out. And what I'll do is I'll kind of create a like just a little tiny mark or something, so that I know where the corner of the eye is, and then I'll come back and actually freehand the sketch, and that's it. That's the process. There's a bunch of the other ways that you can do these things. You can do a grid. You can do like I mean, you can even trace it if you really wanted to. But this is my process. This is how I do it. And then as far as like the watercolors go, these are just generic Walmart brand watercolors. I'm not doing anything special. Feel free to use whatever watercolors you want. So the key part of this process is to dampen the watercolor. First off, start with watercolor paper. This is definitely watercolor paper. I didn't mention that before. But you definitely want it to be super soaked. So this is a wet on wet kind of like like technique. And it works really well for dealing with watercolors, especially with these abstract messes of watercolor that we're going for in this particular style. So once your paper is super damp, you can just drop watercolor onto the paper and it kind of just like creates this like beautiful mess. In fact, just for demonstration purposes, so let me just clarify, this is going to look like a mess, and that's kind of the point. What I liken it to is staring up at the clouds and trying to find shapes in the clouds. I want this to be a cloudy mess. Now, I'm not perfect when it comes to colors. The colors that I'm choosing here is I'm specifically trying to draw a contrast between warm colors and cool colors. So it may look like a complete muddy mess to you guys, but that's kind of the point. In fact, I think I wanted to go a little bit overboard as far as like making a mess here, because I wanted the end result to show that from this mess, you can still create very lovely art. Which I think the finished result is. So this is the process. This is what I do. I just come in, I just drop color onto the paper and just kind of use the brush to kind of just like mess it about a bit and stuff. And sometimes the colors do bleed, and you might want to spend a little more time controlling that kind of stuff. You might want to be more concerned about where you're putting the color on the paper and stuff. I'm kind of just eyeballing it. I'm just kind of deciding, well, okay, I want the left side of her face here to be cool, and I want the right side to be warm. And I'm just kind of like messing about. Now, in some of my pictures, I am a little bit more controlled in what I'm doing. Like I want some darker areas to be dark, and I want some lighter areas to be light. The next part of the process is after the picture has completely dried, I want to go over it with this Liquitex clear gesso. So this clear gesso is basically glue with some sort of like stone substance in it. I think it's marble, but don't quote me on that. But there's some sort of powder in it that gives you tooth to your paper. So I am working with watercolor paper here already. There is some tooth and stuff, but I'm going over watercolor with pastels. So that's the second part of my process is I draw in pastels. In order to be able to draw in pastels, the paper needs to have some tooth to it. So that's what this clear gesso process is about. It's adding tooth to the paper. Now, in theory, you could come over this watercolor with colored pencils. I mean, that's all on you. I prefer pastels just because of the soft, look that I get from it, how fast I'm able to work with it, things like that. All of that will become more apparent as we go along. But for me, pastels require that tooth on the paper. So that's why I use the clear gesso. So then it's just drawing. So I've got the reference photo here just to kind of show you, like a lot of times when I do my live stream, I don't really show the reference photo, but it's there in spirit. But in this case, and like a lot of times when I pick my reference photos, it's actually like a composition of like several reference photos. Sometimes I do the composition in Photoshop. Here, I like it's pretty straightforward. You have the picture, and I'm trying to translate it into a drawing. Now, obviously, I'm not using the same colors as the reference photo, so that's another part of this style. This abstract realism. So like it is based on reality, but I'm taking some artistic license in how I'm representing that reality. So in this case, we have a 1940s photo. We have a grandmother, from the 1940s. I want to kind of like, bring her into modern times and stuff. This is the memorial photo or memorial piece of art. So I kind of want to show, kind of like a living spirit of grandma that's passed away. I want her to be, contemporary. I think that's kind of cool. That's what I was going for the draw me requests. The draw me requests are all like unpaid anyway, so I feel like I have the artistic license there. But yeah, it's just pastel over the watercolor. Again, you can use colored pencils if you want, but I like how the pastels work here. What I do is I come in and I put in like light layers of pastel, and then I just kind of use my finger to kind of smudge it in. Sometimes I use a blending stump if my fingers are too fat for the area. but it's creating this soft transition between different colors. So in this case, I'm working on the left side of her face. Again, complete artistic discretion on what colors I'm using there, but I'm trying to match the tonal values of shadows. So like in this case, the left side of her face is like where the shadow is. So I'm trying to like transition from her flesh tone colors into kind of like a shadow area. And I'm, again, complete artistic discretion on what colors I'm using. So I'm using some blues and some purples, and I think there might be some like pinks and greens in there, but it's all just, you know, artistic discretion. So I do feel like that's another part of the artistic style that you're trying to steal is feel free to use whatever colors you want. It's more about taking this abstract mess of color that is represented in the watercolor. And by the way, the watercolor, just let the water be water. So like let it flow all over the place. You got some drips here. You've got some, like places where water have where one color is kind of mixed in with another color and stuff. That's all natural. Like if you encountered a puddle in a road where the oil from the cars and stuff is kind of mixed in it and you catch it in the right light, you'll see this kind of oily mess where everything just kind of flows together. Let the water be the water, right? And then from that, you kind of use that stuff there as your inspiration for creating your more refined, realistic art on top of that mess. So it's kind of like this neat contrast between something that is more detailed, something that is more focused, and something that is less focused, and something that is less detailed, more abstract. So that I think that's where the abstract realism comes from. So like you have the realistic face, and then you have the abstract background. But again, part of that abstract bit is you get to choose your own colors. You get to choose how you want to represent this realistic, this real focus of your art. You can represent it in any different way. And I think it's also kind of fun to toy with the idea of like I don't know what sort of photographic process there was on the original photo, but you can tell it's kind of like antique. It's got like sepia tones to it and stuff. It's all basically monotone. It's monotone. It's a very warm kind of color. It works great for like a photo from the 1940s, but if you want to like actually put some color into it that's not represented in the reference photo, what do you do, right? So like I do like this idea of using the contrast between the cool colors and the warm colors just to kind of like create some interesting aspects to the art. And also, I mean, it is a memorial photo, so like the cosmicness of these colors, like the face coming out of the clouds, it has kind of like the spiritual aspect to it as well. So like, I don't know the person who requested this photo be drawn on Reddit. They didn't really elaborate. All they said was that their grandma passed away. So I don't know if they have any kind of like spiritual or religious preference, but to me, I think this is kind of cool, representing it as like, you look up at the night sky, or the clouds in the sky on like a particular day with a particular lighting, and grandma's face is in the clouds. That's the idea I was going for. But this is the process. As you can see, it's just going back and forth between laying down color, smoothing it out, letting it blend in with the watercolor. I mentioned in my live streams a lot that you kind of want each medium to kind of like live on its own. So you want the watercolor to be the watercolor. You want the pastel to be the pastel. If you're doing colored pencils, let the colored pencils be the colored pencils. But the style itself is taking that abstractness and creating something realistic over it. And pastels are great for that. As you can see, I'm switching back and forth. I've got Derwent pastel pencils. The name brand of the pastels, it kind of escapes me right now, but I'm using two different sets. So like one is Rembrandt soft pastels for like the flesh tone colors, just because I have a set of flesh tone Rembrandt pastels. And then the other one is I forget the brand, but it's like 30 bucks on Amazon. Everything involved in this picture that I created, there's super cheap supplies. Like I said, the watercolors from Walmart, the pastels I picked up on Amazon for less than 30 bucks. It's not a very expensive set of art supplies I'm using, is all I'm saying. So if you're gonna steal somebody's art style, steal the cheap stuff. And you know, you can improve upon this art style as well. Like there's lots of room for improvement. I'm still getting used to it myself. I'm a self-taught artist. I learned by practice and seeing what other people do and trying to like imitate them. I feel like art is that. Art is imitation. You're imitating those who came before you. And what is that but stealing, right? You're stealing other people's style. So feel free to steal mine. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully I can do more of these type of videos in the future. If you want to see more of these type of videos, make sure you give that like and you know, subscribe if you haven't already. Um, and I will bring you more insights as I come across them. Anyway, thank you so much. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.